Number 13 on our cross-country flight plan asks us to make checkpoints every 10 to 15 nautical miles away. So we want to use the plotter. Again, remember, keep the spinny side up and be sure you're dealing with nautical miles, not statute miles. So with the nautical miles scale, we want to find something that we can see easily from the air, and we'll call that a checkpoint. So here was our top of climb, and we want to go somewhere between 10 to 15 miles away and find something that is very easily seen from the air. This is a road and a railroad track. See how it's a black line with little hash marks? So that should be pretty easy to see. So we can mark this on the chart. Again, you can put an X, you can put a little circle, whatever you want to do. Just mark it so you know that that's your checkpoint. Now you may wonder, why do we need to make checkpoints every 10 to 15 miles away? Well, we're going to calculate out how much time and fuel burn it takes between each point, and that way we can make sure that we stay on schedule. Because let's say that we had calculated out that it was supposed to take us 8 minutes to fly from here to here, but when you timed it, it actually took you 12 minutes. What is that going to do to your fuel burn for the whole trip if you're continually flying slower than you thought you were going to? Maybe the winds had shifted, or you used in a different power setting than you calculated, but for whatever reason you'd end up burning more fuel, and we don't ever want to run out of fuel. So we make these checkpoints every 10 to 15 miles away from each other to make sure that we stay on track and we're not going to burn more fuel than we had calculated out. Now, the next checkpoint, it should be somewhere in this area, and we could use this little town with a road. So the road is coming kind of from east to west, and there's a little town, looks like Joanna. We could mark this as a checkpoint. We're continuing on, and about 10 to 15 miles away, well, this would make a real good checkpoint. This is Newberry Airport. When we're abeam or lined up with the runway here, then we can call that a checkpoint. Now when I go to the other side, remember that part of the sectional chart overlaps. So I don't want to measure to the end of the chart and then when I flip it over, measure to the end of the chart again, because then I'm going to measure the same part twice. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to measure from the airport to this little 2 where I stopped my line, and that looks like it's 7 miles. And we'll flip the chart over, and we'll continue from that 2 with our 7 miles. And now we need to find something in here that we could use as a checkpoint. I would say probably being abeam this little leg or finger of the lake might be a good spot. That should be easily seen from the air. Now we're at 5,500, and at some point we need to begin our descent down. So in a moment we'll calculate out how do we know when to begin our descent down. Since we have our checkpoints marked, let's start writing those on our nav log to fill it out. So we went from Greenville to top of climb, and now top of climb to, we'll just call it railroad crossing. And then the next one is going to be this little town of Joanna with a road. So we'll just name this one Joanna. And then coming down, our next checkpoint will be Newberry, which is EOE. And then our next checkpoint was going to be the top of the lake. So we can just simply write lake to remind ourselves what we're looking for. Now we're going to calculate out the top of descent here shortly. So I'll go ahead and write this in, top of descent, and then finally our destination, which would be Charlie Alpha Echo.